Good morning, Kenya. We're coming to you live from Kwale County, where the 29th Engineering Conference is happening, run by the IEK. Engineers are convening here for the next 5 days so that they can speak about the matters that are affecting their sector. Here with me, we have Engineer Ohaga, who is the president of the IEK. And maybe he could just tell us, the theme for this year is sustainable engineering in the wake of climate change. What exactly was the thought that was behind this? And how did it come about that you chose this?
Thank you so much, Hivak, and I want to appreciate this particular week. As engineers, we are alive to the fact that we play a very critical role in the climate change mitigation. And therefore, we are looking at the ravages of climate change in this country, in Africa, and across the globe. And we know what we want to participate in offering solutions to the climate change in this country.
Engineer Ohaga, you've chosen the first day to be a day of mentorship for engineers who are coming in. The statistics are that there are 200, or rather there are almost 500 specialist engineers, 2,500 certified engineers. How will you be able to help these, or rather, how will you run this mentorship in order to ensure more engineers come into the sector?
Thank you so much. And this particular country depends on the young people. And you saw the curtain raiser was specifically dedicated for the young people of this country. And we have established specific mentorship programs for these young people that is going to assist them in transitioning into professional engineer. And we are looking at, in the next 5 years, having 10,000 professional engineers. We are doing it every 2 weeks to ensure that that happens in this country.
Every single year you have a convention just like this. Could you just tell us, if you could just go back in time, what was last year's theme and what exactly did you discuss and what exactly did you gain from it?
Thank you so much. Yes, last year we had a very successful convention, and it was basically on the resilient infrastructure, and we had certain resolutions that we made as a country, as East Africa and Africa, and those particular resolutions were circulated to the various agencies that are supposed to implement the resolution of those particular conference. And currently we have about 50% of those resolutions having been implemented, and we are working on the other 50% to ensure that we achieve our targets.
Today is the second day of this convention. We have identified that the men engineers should have their own little forum and the women engineers should have their own forum. How does gender come into play, especially in this sector?
As you're aware, we are very cognizant of the fact that we have to be inclusive in our nature. And even if you look at our council, the Institution of Engineers of Kenya, women play a very critical role, and we want to give them space so that we are able to grow as a fraternity. And that's why we have always given them special consideration so that they can discuss issues that are pertinent to the women engineers and mentor other young women engineers so that they can take the role that is rightfully theirs. But the men are also not left out. That's why we have established their own summit so that they can also discuss issues related to them.
And finally, Engineer Ohaga, if you could just tell us, what can we look forward to as the days progress?
We actually, from yesterday, we have seen a lot of vibrant discussions. And this convention is different because it's not looking at academic papers. It's looking at the live practical examples where practical people from the industry, from the academia, from the legislation and policymakers are actually involved in a panel discussion that are supposed to give us executable implementation action plans that then would be able to take this country, East Africa, Africa, and the globe forward.
And I'm really glad you've talked about the African context, Engineer Ohaga, because it's not only Kenyan engineers. We're trying to expand as a country so that we can ensure that professionals are acknowledged. Engineer Kazawadi, if you could just tell us, what is the agenda for Kenya's engineers going into Africa?
Thank you very much. Agendas going into Africa. First of all, we find that today Africa is seen as a virgin area for opportunities for the whole world. So in this process, we don't want to see foreigners coming in Africa, leaving out the nationals. So we are doing these engineering conferences simply to make the engineers and practitioners aware of the opportunities around them so that they can take part and be part of the process for developing Africa.
Engineer Kazawadi, if you could just tell us, out there in the African context, of course we're a giant in very many aspects. How does the continent regard us, especially in engineering?
When we look at the history that we have, most recent history is that local or national engineers, African engineers, have not been involved a lot as to the expectation. And this is the reason we are doing and increasing a lot of advocacy so that they can be part of the bigger picture in developing their own. Because we believe and understand that solutions always come from the ones who experiences the problems. So we do believe that the African solutions will be created by Africans themselves.
And finally, Engineer Kazawadi, if you could just tell us, now that we're having a lot of building mishaps and buildings are collapsing everywhere, how can we remedy this so that we can save our image?
One of the things, if you go deep into those problems, is because of the disconnect that has been in the previous years. Now that we are addressing by bringing the academia, the industry and the regulators, these problems will be reduced time by time.
And I'm glad you've spoken about streamlining and how that could be an issue that needs to be addressed. With me, I have the regulator, Engineer Mwongera. If you could just tell us, so many building collapses at the moment. What exactly, as a regulator, are you endorsing so that we can reduce this number?
Yes, we thank you very much for having us this morning. Yes, it's unfortunate a number of buildings have collapsed all over the place. And we are just taking stock to make sure that projects are implemented by professionals. As Kenyans are aware, last year we undertook a structural assessment of sampled counties, and we discovered the root causes of these collapses. And we are discussing these root causes with the approving authorities, the county government, NCA, to make sure that when projects are started, they are started on a sound foundation, the materials chosen are right and, in terms of quality and quantity, and that the professionals making decisions from the design to implementation.
Engineer Mwongera, I'm very glad you're talking about mentorship and streamlining. Just yesterday you were speaking about a post-university training institution where engineers can come in so that you can streamline this particular sector. If you could just tell us more about that. You're partnering with Korea.
Yes, according to the Engineers Act 2011, there is provision for a school, for an engineering school, Kenya School of Engineering. Unfortunately, we are not operationalized it, but this is the right time to operationalize it. And we are exchanging a program with the Korean Federation of Engineering Association so that we can tap from their experience, because they are much more advanced than us on engineering matters. The purpose of this school is for engineers to be mentored, to be trained, to be retrained, so that we keep abreast with the changing technology. We have also challenges of those young engineers who are completing courses that have not been approved by the board, and we'll be giving them bridging courses so that they can become qualified as professional engineers, be registered, and move on.
Of course, Kenya is acknowledged as a center of excellence, especially in matters education. Do you maybe think that in the global scope, we are maybe losing out on points considering all of the mishaps that we've been witnessing?
In fact, we are very advanced and we have become of age. That is why we are pursuing the Washington Accord. We want to be mentored and be accommodated in that class of engineers, so that when we accede to the Washington Accord, then our engineers will be globally mobile. They will not be restricted just to do jobs here. Even when we have projects which are funded by multilateral and bilateral donors, our engineers will not be regarded as local but international engineers. And also our institutions, our universities will be centers of excellence, attracting students from all over the world. Our lecturers going out there to be external examiners and to teach when they are on their sabbatical, and so on. The benefits are enormous.
Talking about global acknowledgement, the numbers at the moment are quite dismal. The plan is to ensure that we hit 10,000 in a couple of years. How exactly, what's the framework, or rather what's the plan that the regulator is going to take up in order to boost these numbers?
We have taken quite a number of measures. Number one, the candidates who want to be professional engineers go through some professional interview as is spelled out in the Act. So we have expanded the panels, the number of panels. We used to have about a handful of them. Now we have very many panelists. We have also built an examination center dedicated for that work, where we can sit 10, 15 panels sitting together to interview these people. We have also included the various engineering disciplines. Traditionally, this country has only been having civil, electrical, and mechanical, but now we have brought in other disciplines like aerospace engineering, chemical engineering, biomedical engineering, marine engineering, and we have brought in specialists in these areas to be also to sit in as panelists and interview. We have also brought the academia. We have a number of university professors who are professional engineers sitting in the panel, so that they can encourage the academia to be part of this journey. We have also not forgotten women. We have brought in quite a number of women to encourage young engineers, so that they don't feel intimidated by men. They can sit there and be interviewed by other women, and they feel up in this process. So we are continuing to expand to bring more of these people so that we can roll out. And I want to tell you this is working because last financial year, which ended in June, we had the highest number of registered professional engineers, 356 to be specific. This year, we are planning to improve it to 500, and we continue expanding that so that the numbers keep on increasing as time passes.
I'm glad you're talking about that, and I'm sure a lot of engineers, especially graduate engineers coming into the sector, are very excited. Do you maybe have a tentative timeline when this institution is going to be coming in?
Yes. Graduate engineers are joining the board as soon as they are released by their universities. As soon as they graduate, then they can enter the register if those programs are approved by the board. Please note, if the programs are approved by the board, and then once they get there, we give them a 3-year organized training, because that is what the Act demands. They go through dynamics of design, project construction, and maintenance. Then after that, they are ready to sit for professional examinations, and they become professional engineers. They are also required to be members of the Institution of Engineers of Kenya as corporate members, so that the whole story is complete.
Thank you so much, Engineer Mwongera. As you have heard, Doreen, there are so many plans right now, and of course engineers, as they come into the sector, they're going to get further training so that we can establish ourselves as a country, as a trademark, so that we can at least be able to stand up. In as much as there are so many building mishaps, you can understand that the professionals are gearing up so that we no longer have these cases. Back to you in studio, Doreen.